Hi again, Gregg Bell, the News Tribune here at Blue Jean Stadium in Santa Clara. The rain has stopped 4 hours after the game. Didn't do the Seahawks or 49ers any good. Seahawks lose 26-23 in overtime because they gave the game away. 14 penalties, 148 yards in penalties, the most in team history, and that's saying something. This team's been around a day or two. 1976, their first season, and it was all varieties. The most costly were the 5 holding penalties, 4 of which came in the fourth quarter and in overtime. 2 on Ethan Posick, and who thought just Jordan Simmons' injury would be so crucial at right guard. Simmons starts for DJ Fluker, who missed the game for a hamstring strain. Simmons doing fine into the third quarter. Chris Carson's on his way to a 100-yard day, and then Simmons sprains his knee, face down on the ground. Out, here comes the third string right guard, Ethan Posick. Posick's a 2017 second-round pick who's not at all panning out for them. Holding in the fourth quarter, negated a first down. Late in the 30 seconds left in the game. First down near midfield, negated on a holding penalty by Ethan Posick. And in overtime, Russell Wilson hits the big splash play that the Seahawks are looking for in OT. J.D. McKissick down the sidelines on third down across midfield to the San Francisco 48-yard line. 32-yard gain. Flag on Posick for holding. Pete Carroll after the game, that was as down as you'll ever hear him be negatively toward a player, saying he did not show well, did not fare well. The exact word I can't remember in my game store. It's online at thenewstribune.com. But he said a couple times it didn't go well for Ethan Posick today. So that brings in the focus of DJ Fluker for next week against Kansas City at home. With the Seahawks still needing 1 win in the final 2 games to clinch the playoff spot. Carroll said that Fluker ran before today's game, but he doesn't know if Fluker can play. They don't know the severity of the knee strain on Jordan Simmons. They don't want to go into this game with Ethan Posick, or any other games for that matter, the way he played today. J.R. Sweezy had the other 2 holding penalties in the fourth quarter. Unsportsmanlike conducts, unnecessary roughness across the field, 50 yards away from a play in the fourth quarter, in the second half. I mean, all kinds of penalties. Nico Thorpe, unnecessary roughness at the end of a punt, well after the punt return was done. He's a special teams captain, just giving yards away left and right, and that's how you lose to a 3-10 team when a win would get them into the playoffs. So now the Seahawks, what do they have now? Well, they have Doug Baldwin. He said before today's game, he and his training staff found a new magic way to manage his pain in his legs, groin, hip, and knees. Baldwin didn't specify exactly what that new method was. That'd be a little bit inside trade secrets. But he said it was the last piece he needed to be healthy for the rest of this season. He sure looked like it. 2 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown catches in the first half of this game. As many as he had the entire season coming in. Of course, he missed last week with the groin injury. That's the 3rd missed game he's had in the last 6.5 years. Baldwin in the offense changed Russell Wilson from his worst passer rating game and fewest passing yards against Minnesota 6 days ago to a 141.1 rating in the first half, 12 of 16 passing. He ended up 23 for 31, and those big plays he kept making that kept getting called back by penalties. So the Seahawks offense now has Chris Carson running again for 100 yards. It has Doug Baldwin added now to the offense again for the first time really all season, yet they're not in the playoffs yet. They got to either beat Kansas City at home on Sunday. Chiefs are 11-3 and still playing for their playoff seeding in the AFC, or they have to beat the Cardinals, the Seahawks do on December 30th, the regular season finale in Seattle. The Cardinals got boat race today and are now 3-11. So the Seahawks can still make it in by beating them. And there is even a scenario out there the Seahawks make it at 8-8, losing the last 3 games of the season, which they don't want to have to rely on. They would need help to do that. So all's not lost, and after the game they weren't exactly bumming in the locker room. They were more shaking their heads this way than this way, or their heads weren't down as much as they were going side to side, kind of bewildered at how they can make so many mistakes penalty-wise. And they were pretty legitimate calls for the most part. The one penalty that was not legitimate, I didn't think, certainly Pete Carroll and definitely Shaquill Griffin didn't think, was Griffin's pass interference here in this end zone in overtime, on this end of the field I should say, in overtime, 2nd and 15, en route by Dante Pettis. I thought, certainly Griffin thought that he reached across with his left upfield arm and bat the pass away without any other contact. The side judge from about 20 yards behind threw a penalty for pass interference, presumably because Griffin did have his right hand around the hip, kind of hooking Pettis, but usually if you don't pull on that with the off arm, you're not going to get called for it. Didn't look like there was any tug there. Who knows what the call was, because according to Griffin, the official walked away from him and would not give him an explanation for why he threw the flag. That, of course, put the 49ers into Seahawks territory on 2nd and 15, game of first down. Next play, Jeff Wilson Jr. 16-yard run. Then they move into position for the winning field goal. After game, Griffin kept saying, terrible call. He said it 2 or 3 times, and he was also upset that he didn't get an explanation from the official. Whatever. Most of the penalties were very legitimate. The holding calls were mostly tackles, and the Seahawks have to clean that up if they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs, which they're not in yet. My coverage is on thenewstribune.com and on Twitter @GBellSeattle. As always, thanks for watching.